Welcome to Naughty Relationship Stories, where passion, drama, secrets, and unexpected twists come alive. I should have let him leave on time, but well, let's just say I had other plans. I needed some serious loving that morning, and I wasn't about to let a little thing like time get in the way. I knew he had already been warned about being late, but when I saw his morning physical reaction, let's just say I couldn't resist. A few extra minutes of us together seemed worth the risk, even if it meant he'd be late. Who needed a perfect morning routine when you could have something way more exciting? I never imagined it would cost him his job though. My name's Valentina and I'm in my late 20s. I'm originally from a Latin background and I've been married to Liam for 2 years. Our marriage brought me to the US where we settled in Austin, Texas. Liam's job bounces between Austin and Dallas since his family home is there, but he works out of both cities depending on the week. 3 months ago he got transferred to the office here in Austin, and that's when things started getting complicated. His new boss, Mr. Maxwell, came in a month ago, and let's just say he wasn't exactly the easiest person to work for. He was tough on Liam, making his life at the office a bit of a nightmare. Lately things have been very spicy between us. Since Liam's transfer we've been completely wrapped up in each other and it's been intense. We've been exploring a lot of new things in the bedroom, including moments of dominance and submission, and it's brought us closer than ever. I just can't get enough of him. Just last night I dreamt about him all night long. When I woke up this morning, Liam was still sound asleep, his chest rising and falling, unaware of what I had in store. I noticed his usual morning reaction and felt a rush of excitement pulse through me. Quietly, I reached for the Velcro cuffs I'd kept nearby just in case the mood struck. I slid them around the headboard and gently fastened his wrists above him. He stirred a little but stayed blissfully unaware, still wrapped in his dreams. With a wicked grin, I shifted down beneath the sheets and began teasing him. Slow, steady, deliberate. I knew what he liked and I took my time building the tension, letting it grow between us. By the time I moved over him, straddling his waist, I was more than ready. The moment we connected, my breath caught in my throat. I sank into him with a slow, aching motion, savoring every inch of our closeness. "Oh my God, yes, just like that," I murmured, my voice barely a whisper as my body moved against his. He finally began to wake fully, eyes fluttering open as he realized what was happening. His muscles tensed under me, his voice rough with urgency. "Babe, I have to go. Seriously." I leaned down, brushing my lips along his jaw. "Just a little longer," I whispered. "You'll be gone all day and I need a proper goodbye." He sighed, half smiling, already caught between duty and desire. "All right," he muttered. "If you untie me, I'll give you exactly what you want." I smirked. "Oh no, baby. I'm in charge this morning." His hips rose instinctively, meeting mine, our rhythm syncing in a way that made everything else blur. I could feel the fire building inside me, his tension, the way he flexed beneath me, trying to fight it and lean into it at the same time. We were lost in it. Heat, control, connection. The pressure built higher and higher until I was gasping, shaking from the inside out as a wave of pleasure rippled through me. I collapsed onto his chest for a moment, catching my breath, savoring the way he still pulsed beneath me. But he wasn't done. "All right, babe, let's go. Untie me. I'm serious." I looked at him, breathless, glowing. "Just one more time." I climbed back on top, slower this time, more focused. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirrored wardrobe, hair tousled, flushed, wild, and something about it turned me on even more. But Liam was tense now, his voice sharper. "Come on, Val. I really need to leave." He started shifting beneath me, trying to take back control, but each time he did, it only made things more intense. I held my ground, teasing him just enough to keep him going. "You're not going anywhere," I whispered, "not until you surrender completely." He stilled. Just stared at me with this helpless, hungry look in his eyes. I braced myself on his chest, rolled my hips just right, and for a moment we were back in sync, heat flaring again, but it didn't last. "This isn't working," he finally muttered, voice strained. I sighed and leaned forward to release the cuffs. He sat up fast, rubbing his wrists as we exchanged a quiet, knowing look. Then his eyes shot to the clock. "Oh my God. I've got 15 minutes to be there, and it's a 30-minute drive. I haven't even showered." He jumped up, threw on his clothes, and bolted out the door in a blur. Less than an hour later, my phone buzzed. "Thanks a lot, babe." His voice came through flat and tense. They fired me. I told you this would happen. Sometimes it feels like you just don't care. I'll be home later. And then he hung up. Guilt hit me hard. Liam loved his job and had been moving up in his career, but everything changed when his new boss, Mr. Maxwell, took over. It seemed like he'd been after Liam from day one, always nitpicking and finding fault. This morning, with Liam being late again, might have been the last straw. I couldn't sit around and let this be the end of his career. I pulled myself together, threw on some clothes, and headed straight for Liam's office, ready to make things right. When I got to Liam's office, I was greeted by Elena, the receptionist. She was sitting confidently behind her massive reception counter, typing away with a focused look. We'd run into each other a few times at work parties, and I'd always found her intriguing. There was something magnetic about her, and I'd even wondered if we might convince her to join us for a little fun one day, but that seemed like a distant fantasy now. I went over and, keeping my tone casual, mentioned that I needed to see Mr. Maxwell. She raised her eyebrows, clearly surprised I was there. But I got straight to the point. I was there to talk to Mr. Maxwell, the one who'd just fired Liam. Word had spread fast. Elena mentioned that everyone in the office was shocked. Liam was great at his job after all, and nobody saw this coming. I admitted, half-jokingly, that I was partly to blame for Liam's lateness this morning, though I skipped the steamy details. Elena looked sympathetic, but she mentioned that Mr. Maxwell was with someone and had another meeting lined up. She offered a quick solution, though, suggesting that when she left to grab his coffee, I might be able to slip into his office. Just be careful, she whispered with a grin. I don't want to lose my job too. I thanked her with a light touch on her hand, flashing a smile and letting her know I owed her for the favor. Soon after, I saw a young man leaving Mr. Maxwell's office, and just as planned, Elena got up to make her coffee run. I seized the moment, taking a deep breath, and walked right into Maxwell's office, closing the door quietly behind me. This was it. It was time to confront the man who'd derailed my husband's career. As I stepped into the office, I was greeted by the sight of a large leather swivel chair facing away from me. The walls were lined with framed certificates and various awards, all proudly displayed as if they were monuments to the man's ego. The air was thick with an intimidating silence, broken only by the faint ticking of a clock somewhere in the room. A brusque voice barked out, assuming I was Elena, "I hope you made my coffee right this time." Without missing a beat, I replied I didn't bring any coffee. At that, the chair slowly turned to reveal Mr. Maxwell himself. A man in his late 50s, with silvered hair and a chiseled face that bore a permanent look of irritation. His eyes narrowed as he took me in, clearly not expecting a visitor like me. I took a steadying breath and met his gaze. "My name's Valentina. I came because you fired my husband Liam today for being late." Mr. Maxwell's expression hardened. "So? He was late and now he's gone. How did you even get in here?" He had a tone that was dismissive, almost amused, as if he didn't think I could shake his confidence one bit. But I wasn't about to back down. This was my husband's career and I wasn't leaving until I got some answers. Ignoring his question, I continued, "Liam didn't deserve this. Ever since you transferred in, you've made him your target. He's one of the hardest working people here, but you've treated him like he's disposable." His face remained impassive, unimpressed by my words. "What's done is done," he said with a finality that felt like a slap. "There's nothing you can do about it." I held his gaze, a boldness rising in me. "Are you sure about that?" I asked, letting the question linger. I was prepared to go to any length necessary to get Liam's job back. My mind was already spinning with possibilities, weighing exactly how far I was willing to push to make sure that Maxwell regretted this decision. I could see the irritation written all over his face. He was thin, grumpy, and used to getting his way. But I knew how to handle a man like him. Sometimes, a little persuasion could go a long way, especially when the stakes were high. Liam's job was on the line, and I wasn't going to let him lose it without a fight. I slowly began to unbutton my top, letting each button fall open in a deliberate rhythm. His eyes flickered just for a second, but that single glance was all I needed. He was reacting, and I could feel it. "I don't think you understand how much this means to me," I said softly, leaning forward, my voice dripping with calm intensity. "Liam loves his job, and he doesn't deserve what happened today." I stepped over to the door and quietly locked it. The subtle click of the lock sent a message all its own. I didn't want interruptions. This conversation wasn't for just anyone. Then I reached into my purse, pulled out my phone and set it face up on his desk. I'm going to be honest with you, I continued, now standing right in front of him, close enough that he could feel the warmth between us. I'll do whatever it takes to get Liam's job back. Whatever it takes. His face stiffened. He sat up straighter. I'm a married man, he barked, clearly trying to sound firm, but his voice had lost its edge. So am I replied with a smirk, keeping my eyes on his. That's not what this is about. I could feel the energy shifting, every inch between us charged with tension. He wanted to stay in control. But he couldn't stop looking at me. Couldn't unhear what I just said. I continued unbuttoning the rest of my top, just enough to give him a glimpse. Not a show but a taste. Enough to tip the balance of power. He shifted in his seat. You know, I said, lowering my voice, sometimes people in positions like yours forget what it's like to feel something, to be reminded that not everything in life is numbers and policies. He turned away in his chair, clearly trying to resist. But the way his shoulders stiffened told me everything. I wasn't done. I took off my skirt and folded it carefully over the back of his chair, never breaking eye contact. Come on, Mr. Maxwell, I purred. When was the last time someone made you feel alive? He muttered something about being professional, but I could see it in his posture. He was unraveling. I stepped closer, slower now. My voice softer but laced with intent. All I want is to make this right. Liam deserves that much. If there's anything I can do to help, anything at all, I'm ready. He was silent, breath uneven, face tense, and I knew I had him. Mr. Maxwell didn't say a word. He just stared at me, his jaw clenched, his chest rising and falling like he was holding back a storm. I stepped in front of him and lowered myself to my knees. Not rushed, not begging, in control. His eyes darkened, his body stiffened, and I could tell I had him. His hands gripped the arms of his chair like he was about to lose it. And maybe he already had. I told you, I murmured, looking up through my lashes. I'll do whatever it takes. I leaned forward slowly, brushing my lips right where he was already straining against the fabric. The tension in his legs told me everything I needed to know. My mouth hovered there, breath warm, teasing him through every layer of restraint, until he groaned and let his head fall back. He whispered my name like a warning. But I didn't stop. I kept going, deliberate, rhythmic, torturous. Until finally he muttered, "Get up." He yanked me to my feet, spun me around, and bent me over his heavy mahogany desk with a force that made the air catch in my throat. Papers flew. A pen rolled across the floor. I heard the clink of his belt, the rush of desperation behind it. And then he was behind me, close and demanding, pushing my boundaries as much as I'd pushed his. The first thrust sent a gasp from my lips. Rough, unforgiving, exactly what I wanted. He gripped my hips hard, dragging me back into him with every movement, making sure I felt it, that I knew exactly who had the power now, or thought he did. Tell me why you're here, he growled. For Liam, I gasped, my hands bracing against the polished wood. And for you. We found our rhythm fast, sharp, deep, relentless. The desk creaked with every thrust, echoing off the office walls like a secret we couldn't keep. He was losing control and I was already gone. My nails clawed at the desk and I bit my lip to keep from crying out too loud. Somewhere in the middle of it all, I glanced at the phone still recording on the corner of the desk. Somewhere in the middle of it all, I glanced at the phone still recording on the corner of the desk. Good. Proof. He reached forward, his fingers tangling in my hair as he pulled me back against him harder. My body trembled with every deep push. We were two storms crashing, no softness left. And when it ended, when we both collapsed against the desk, breathless and wrecked, neither of us spoke for a moment. Then, still panting, he muttered, "Liam's job. Raise. Promotion. Done." I straightened my skirt, picked up my phone and turned to face him, his tie loose, shirt half open, hair a mess. "Pleasure doing business with you," I said with a wicked smile. And walked out, legs shaking, head high. And then, as I made my way out of Mr. Maxwell's office, I couldn't help but smile. I glanced over at Elena, who was still sitting at her desk, giving her a playful wink before turning to out the door. She gave me a small nod of acknowledgement, and I felt a brief rush of excitement, knowing things were unfolding just the way I needed them to. Outside, I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of satisfaction and anticipation. I had just made my move and now it was time to see if it would pay off. Just as I was about to step into my car, my phone buzzed. It was Liam. Babe, you're not going to believe this. Mr. Maxwell had a change of heart. He called me in and gave me my job back. And to top it off, I got that promotion I've been working for. I'm even getting a new office. I'm coming home to celebrate, so warm up for me. It's going to be a hot night. My heart raced as I heard his voice and a smile spread across my face. I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride and relief. I'd done it. Always ready for you, baby, I replied, my voice low with anticipation. I'll see you soon. The phone call ended, but the excitement lingered. That night, as I heard Liam's car pull into the driveway, my pulse quickened. I could already feel the tension building, the satisfaction of the day's events mixing with the anticipation of what was to come. I'd made sure everything was set. Dimmed lights, the soft hum of music in the background, and a subtle fragrance in the air. Liam stepped inside, his confident stride unmistakable. He was wearing that smile, the one that told me he had everything he wanted and more. He walked straight to me, his eyes sparkling with excitement, and wrapped his arms around me in a tight embrace. You look amazing, he murmured, his lips brushing against my ear. I could feel the heat between us, a quiet tension that had been building all day. I'm glad you're home, baby, I replied, letting my fingers trace his jaw. I think tonight calls for a celebration. He grinned and kissed me, deep, hungry, and full of everything we couldn't say. The kind of kiss that promised no holding back. And he kept that promise. We didn't waste time. There was no need for words anymore. All the tension from the day, the chaos, the secrets, the unspoken guilt, boiled over in a flash of passion that neither of us tried to contain. As we moved toward the bedroom, clothes disappeared piece by piece. Every step was guided by instinct, urgency, and a shared need to remind each other that we were still us. The night was wild and raw, full of heat and fire that left no corner untouched. Liam took me like he was trying to reclaim something, like I was his and he needed me to feel it. And I did. But there was a part of me, quiet, hidden, that remembered something else. Someone else. As Liam's hands gripped my waist and his mouth pressed against my neck, my mind flickered, just briefly, to Mr. Maxwell. His voice. His control. The way he bent me over his desk earlier that day and made me forget who I was for a moment. And worse. A dark part of me wanted it again. I imagined what it would be like if he really let loose next time. If he destroyed the last bit of control I had left. If he owned me again, and more. But I pushed the thought aside just in time for Liam to flip me over and remind me exactly where I was, and who I belonged to. At least for tonight. By the time we collapsed into the sheets, both of us were breathless and spent. My body was sore in the best way. His hand rested on my thigh and I leaned into him, comforted by his warmth. That's when it hit me. There's a company retreat coming up soon, right? I asked, breath still unsteady. He blinked, then nodded. Yeah. In 2 weeks. I smiled faintly, running my fingers down his chest. Take me with you. He looked over, curious. You want to come? I kissed his shoulder and whispered, I think it'd be good for us. But deep down I already knew why I wanted to go. And it wasn't just for us. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe for part 2.